Hello there, viewers. I've been wanting to do this Let's Play this game for a while now. I think you can already guess what it is. This is Megaman the Wily Wars for the Sega Genesis. Essentially, it is the Super Mario All-Stars of the Megaman series. It takes the original 3 games and enhances them in 16-bit. In fact, I remember playing Mario All-Stars and thinking how cool it would be if they redid Mega Man in the same way. Especially after I played Mega Man 7. I would have really liked to have seen it in that style. But instead, they made it for the Genesis instead. And actually, they made it for... This game's going to be hard to find in North America because it didn't actually get an American release. It was only released in Japan and Europe. To explain why I never heard of it until much longer after it actually came out. So, let's go ahead and get started with Mega Man 1. Granted, this game mostly just took the original NES games and gave them a 16-bit coat of paint, but there are some control differences, which I'll be pointing out. Like I said, it would have been awesome if they did this in the style of Mega Man 7, but the Genesis version has its plus and minuses compared to the NES versions of these games. I do like the remixed music. That's always nice. And I especially like the new backgrounds in Mega Man 1, since they look kind of blah in the NES version. There really wasn't much to them, in fact. For those of you who are wondering why I selected Fireman first, well, you probably already know if you watched my Roll-Chan video from the stream. But I prefer going to Fireman stage first, since it's not a terribly difficult stage, and I like getting the Firestorm early on. The only problem is getting past these fireballs without the magnet beam to just fall over them. One definite difference I noticed in this version is Mega Man seems to shoot differently than he does in the NES games. Come on, get out of my way, Bullet Bill. It's hard to tell if he shoots faster or slower, but I think he might shoot at the same rate, but the bullets travel faster. Or slower, actually. So yeah, you shoot them all out, and then you have to wait. You can only have 3 on screen at a time, so the fact that they travel slower, I found, can really hurt you in some places. You're just gonna stand there? Okay, it doesn't seem like I can get that same thing to happen with the fireballs. Fireballs that appear on the ground seem to be working differently. Got him. Yeah, there are some gameplay differences. In some places they might make the game a little easier, and a lot of places I found it makes the game harder than the original game. Okay, you're annoying. As you can see, they really didn't do much with the weapon select screen either. Like I said, in a lot of these cases, they just gave the games a 16-bit makeover. And now here's something I find very odd about these remakes, is the way some of the sprites are proportioned. Look at Megaman. Look how his sprite is drawn rather differently from his 8-bit sprite, but the Sniper Joe sprite there is drawn the same. So Megaman looks a lot bigger than the Sniper Joe when standing next to him, and I've seen the same thing apply to some of the other enemies too, which I'll probably be pointing out later. It's not as bad as it was in Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy, where there was some major differences there, but still pretty noticeable. This was always a problem in the first game, since if you get knocked into the spikes, you're dead, even if you have the Mercy invincibility. I think that was fixed in this version. You still have the Mercy invincibility on spikes, even in Mega Man 1. Sniper Joes are really annoying in this game. I'm glad they only appear in this level. Oh, there we go. again, it would have been nice if if this version of Mega Man 1 would have added like a little get weapons screen, like the other games have. Awkward little platforms. See if I can still get the timing right on these. Okay, it wasn't too different from the NES game. Storm still kills these guys in one hit, but it doesn't look like it burns right through their shields. Around that big eye a lot easier than usual. Look at that, the big eye's only just slightly bigger than Mega Man is this time. Should have towered over him like it did in the original game. Like I said, Mega Man's sprite is a bit taller in this version, even though some of the other sprites are proportioned the same. And that takes care of Guts Man. I think, hopefully in this video, I should be able to knock out all 6 Robot Masters. That's what I'm gonna go for anyway. I like what they did with Cutman's level. It looks nice, and the remix of his music sounds nice too. Firestorm is very nice here. Kills those Susies in one shot. Blocks thrown by the super arm seem to go in a much higher arc than they did in the NES version. Hopefully that doesn't mess me up too much fighting Cutman, because I think he's a little bit harder in this version. 1, 2, good. The reason I was going to say he's harder in this version is because the regular Mega Buster doesn't mess him up as much as it did in the NES game. I don't think it knocks him back, and it only deals 1 bar of damage instead of 3 in the NES version. Might as well take that. And these annoying things now. I'm not sure I like that sound effect in this version of the blocks. I prefer the iconic doo-doo. Sounds way too high-pitched. Magnet beam, still there. Now the magnet beam feels a lot different in this version. The way the little, each of those little bars comes out rather than like one fluid-looking platform. It feels a little more awkward in this version, which might be a problem later. We'll see. That climb. Oh, that was close. I don't know if Rockman was being faster than usual, or the rolling cutters seem to travel differently again than it did in the NES game. Now, if you notice, the underwater physics seem to be working like they do in the later games. In the original NES game of Megaman 1, the water didn't affect you as much. I think it just slows you down a little bit, but it doesn't make you jump really high, like it does in the later games. And now for this hellish segment. These things are still seem to be as random as ever. Like I said, the slightly more awkward magnet beam might prove to be a bit of a problem. There we go. Still made it. What is this, Megaman 5? I'm getting all these 1-up drops? Oh, dick. The Thunder Beam looks smaller than... Oh, jeez, this is going to be a problem. Thunder Beam looks a little smaller than it did in the NES game. You probably noticed, though, that at least you don't have that issue in the NES game where the... You notice here the projectiles disappeared after I beat Iceman. In the NES game, that was always a problem where the projectiles would stay on the screen and you'd be frozen for a moment and it could still hurt you, so you could still die after beating the boss. Okay, this looks like a good spot to end it then. Thank you all for watching. Next time we'll take on Dr. Wily. See you next time.
I'm playing a game.